All right, we're live. Welcome everyone to the Pro Baduk Weiqi podcast, episode 71. I am Xiao Dai.
Oh, Gaza.
Yeah, hi Gaza. Hopefully no more problems with my USB mic. The mic that I got anew
Are we
just broke.
are we
Just
streaming?
broke. So I'm back to my old mic. My old mic is known to have issues with sound, so I'm a bit softer. So you might have
Yeah.
to turn up
Are
the
we
volume in
streaming
this one.
though?
Sorry, what did you say?
Are we streaming?
Yeah, we're live, mate.
Oh, okay. I don't see it.
Well, open your eyes. Do you see it
Okay.
now? Do you see it
Nope.
now?
Nope.
Oh, the link might have changed. Okay, so we'll probably have to
Oh, there
cut.
we go.
We'll probably have to cut this bit out. Um,
Nah, forget it. There it
okay.
is.
Yep. Okay. Well, Gaza, last week we were talking about the Samsung Cup, which is going to be the topic for this episode as well, probably majority of it anyway.
Sweet.
Sweet, Gaza. Last time we just finished the day 1 and 2, which is the round of 32, wasn't it? As
Yep.
far as I remember.
It's right.
Yeah. So we're up to the round of 16. So of course, Samsung Cup is a competition with 32 players. Now, tragically, a bit of a recap on day one of the competition, which is the round of 32, the first 8 games. All the Japanese players, the European player, and the women players were all eliminated in day one, as far if I can remember correctly. So, pretty much all your minority groups are gone except Taiwan. And Taiwan managed to actually get through in the day two of the competition. Xu Hong representing Taiwan, he beat An Zhengjie, and he had to face Sin Jin So in the second round. So, guys, shall we go through the matchups in the round of 16 just to give everyone a reminder?
Sure.
Yeah, so we have Ding Hao versus Kim Seon Jin.
Pardon?
It's Ding Hao versus Kim Seong Jin.
Kim Kim Sung Jin.
Yeah,
Who?
Kim
No.
something.
Um. Oh yeah, Kim Sung Jin.
Yeah,
My apologies. Yeah.
yeah. And then we got Kim Min Hyun versus Hwang Yun Song. And then we have who do we have? We have Park Jun Hwan versus Tan Xiao. Lian Xiao versus Kim something. And then we have Xie Erhao versus Han Wang Yu. And we got
Wait,
Sinjin
who was the Anjia playing?
Lian Xiao Kim something.
Kim who?
Kim something.
Kim Nuri.
Yeah,
Alright.
yeah. Nuri, yeah. And then we got Sinjin So versus Xu Hong. Xu Jiayang versus Kang Dong Yun. Gu Zihao versus Shin Min Jun. So that's of course the biggest games were Sin Jin So versus Xu Hong. Of course, Xu Hong famously beat Sin Jin So in the Asian Games, and Sin Jin So is coming in for a bit of a revenge, and Sin Jin So managed to win this one, unsurprisingly. But I think the game was a little bit was quite close, but obviously Sin Jin So was just a better player. We got Xu Jiayang playing Kan Dong Yun, and Xu Jiayang won that one as well. So Xu, beat Kang, which is one of the strongest Korean players, and then Gu Zihao beat Shin Min Jun. So the Chinese player seems to be doing quite well, but then Park Jun Hwan won against Tan Xiao, so Park Jun Hwan managed to get through. Kim Min Hyun won against Hwang Yun Song, who beat Kim Yun Ji in the first round. So Kim Min Hyun got through, and Ding Hao was just too good for Kim Seong Jin, and so he made it into the next round as well. Now, guys, I don't remember there was too big of a story in the second round. I think all of these results seem fairly, fairly normal. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So and then so therefore it kind of got to the what do you call it, the quarterfinals. And the quarterfinal, of course, they had to do the redraw again. And of course, the biggest game of the day was Xie Erhao versus Sinjin So. Now, guys, that was quite a game, wasn't it?
Um, Interestingly enough, I didn't actually watch the game, but
Oh,
I did hear about it. I was watching a different game in Japan.
oh,
But
oh, oh, yes. Um,
yeah, no, this was a good game, and Shinjin So was thoroughly outplayed by
would you
Xie Hao. It
would,
was
would you
very well played
would you say
gameplay.
it's he's outplayed? Because if
Well,
I'm
I mean, his dragon got killed,
hey, oh yeah, his dragon could kill,
didn't
but
his? Yeah,
it's hard to say that's been outplayed, right? Because a lot of players, their strategy is to take lots of territory, make their groups super thin, and just run around. And if you can't kill it, they win. Yeah.
fair enough.
Yeah.
You make a good point.
So yeah, I got some support in the chat because Hanamaru was saying that he wasn't really outplayed, but it is true. Shinjinso's dragon did get slaughtered at the end, and uh, and I also lost all my coins. Okay, so
Oh,
I
I actually won a lot of coins from that game, um, which is good. It made up for the coins that I lost on Kerje in the Asian Games.
yeah, okay. I mean, you tend to bet a lot on Shinjinso just because.
I
Um,
I tend to bet a lot on Shinjin So's opponents.
yeah.
Worked out fairly well for me so far.
Oh wow. Well, anyway, this one, would you say, Gatha, that share how beating Shinjinso was, let's just say, a bit unexpected?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say so. Xie Hao has had a very good last couple of months. He won three straight games in the um, Nongshim Cup. Obviously, he qualified for the Nongshim Cup as well, and then he qualified for the Samsung Cup.
Yeah.
So he really was in a run of good form. And I think he also beat Shinjin So the last time they played, which was in the
Jalik.
Jar League.
Yep.
And I think that he had every chance of winning this game. Of course, he was still the underdog, but he won. So,
Yeah. Now, if I'm not wrong, even though Share House won 2 games of the Shinjinso now their head-to-head probably doesn't favor Share that much. I don't know.
no, they've played 9 times together, and Xie Hao has won the last two, but Shinjin So won the other seven.
Yep. So that's a complete reversal over there, but Xiao has done quite well. But it is true that before the game, given the ratings difference, Xiao is only expected to have a 15% chance of winning the game, but he did so. So that actually, of course, put Sinjin So out of the competition, even though he was a bit of the favorite to start with. So with Shin gone, Park Jun Hwan and Kim In Hyun were Korea's the only remaining hope. And unfortunately for Kim In Hyun, he came up with Ding Hao. And he got, if I remember correctly, he got fairly comprehensively beaten by Ding Hao in this game. Is that one of those games that you watched, Gaza?
No, I
No,
didn't watch
no.
that one actually.
Because it was happened on the same day. We were probably watching the Tengen, probably, that's what I'm guessing. Um, yeah,
I think that was on at the same time as the Shinjin So game. So yeah, I was
yeah,
watching the Japanese game.
sure.
Hmm.
Um, and so yeah, so basically Ding Hao's did pretty well. He beat Kim In Hyun, and then we have Park Jun Hwan playing Lian Xiao. Now there was a little bit of a controversy in there in the
Yes,
Park
you
Jun
have
Hwan
the
versus Lian
clip.
Xiao game. Yep,
If
Gaza.
you do have the clip, we'd love to see it.
I doubt I have the clip, but
Well, I think someone did post the clip. Um,
let me see if I can find it. So what happened, Gaza?
well, in Samsung Cup, you get 2 hours main time,
Yeah,
and then you get five 60-second periods of Byoyomi.
yeah.
Now, for those that are completely unfamiliar with that, once your 2 hours
Hmm.
is run out, you have to make a move every 60 seconds.
Yeah.
and you basically get 4 opportunities to go over that 60 seconds. So for instance, if you decide to, once you've used up your main time, if you decide on a move that you're going to take over 60 seconds, you lose one of your Byoyomi periods.
Right. Yep.
Right? And you start with 5. Now, if you lose the 5th Byoyomi period, then you lose on time. So once you've spent 4 Byoyomi periods, you have to make a move every 60 seconds. You don't have a choice anymore.
Yep.
And so essentially what happened with Lian Xiao is he was down to his final Byoyomi, which meant he had to make a move within 60 seconds. And he put the stone down basically on the 60th second. But
Ooh.
in the Samsung Cup, they use clocks.
Yep.
So you have to press a button on a clock to complete the move. So he put the stone down, but he didn't have enough time to press the button on the clock within the 60 seconds, and thus he lost on time.
Right. Now, I can't find the video, but I do remember watching the video where it basically says that Lian Xiao looked a bit stunned. Now, hopefully, I'm hoping that this is actually the video that showcases it. So now, if I'm not wrong, you said that
I'll see if I can find the video because it's on. It would be on Baduk TV.
Yeah, because you said there was a clock, but if I'm not wrong, there's no. Is there a clock next to them?
There's definitely a clock. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and the video I remember watching was basically the commentary was saying that Lian Xiao looked a bit stunned. He didn't really know what was happening, but then he was lost. And in the chat, there was a mention that somehow Lian Xiao used up 2 hours and 5 times 1 minute Byoyomi before 100 moves. 107 moves to be exact when the game ended. So Lian Xiao seemed to have used up a lot of time for just around 50 moves. Of course, the other 50 moves were made by Park Junhwan, but in approximately 100 moves. So I guess about 50 of them were Lian Xiao's. He's managed to use up all of this time, which seems a bit unusual.
Yeah, that's right. The game really hadn't gotten very far. If you look at the stones on the board for running out of time, Okay, I have found the clip. Okay, so one other thing that I noticed is that they just stared at the board for quite some time after Lian Xiao, lost on time. Okay, so let me start here. Copy.
Yeah.
I'm going to share it with you.
Yeah.
Now, and they stared at the board for quite some time after he ran out of time. And I think usually the player that loses is the player that wins usually lets the player that loses decide, what to do analysis over.
Yep.
Because the player that lost is obviously the one that's wants to learn more about the game and how they lost and things like that.
Yeah.
But in this case, Lian Xiao was just staring at the board. So I think eventually Park Junhwan started pointing at sections of the board, and I think in the end Lian Xiao just didn't want to discuss it at all, and they packed up quite quickly.
Oh wow!
But I sent you the clip.
So this is the clip that we're talking about here. Of course, they're hyper focusing, and I guess we're about to see Lian Xiao make a move. He was a bit fidgety, not 100% sure. Possibly have clicked.
And if you look at the clock. So if you look at if you can see on YouTube, underneath each player, there's another camera that's showing the time on the clock.
Yep.
Okay, well, it's gone now, but
it was flashing this guy.
So there's a clock that they have to press after they put the stone on the board, and the move is not completed until they press the clock.
Yep.
Now the clock actually counts when it's in Byoyomi. The clock counts up from 0 to 60.
Yeah.
And once it hits 60, a Byoyomi period has been spent. And if
Mm.
it's the last Byoyomi period, that means they've lost on time once
Yeah.
it hits 60. So
Yeah.
they have to press the clock before it hits 60.
Yeah.
Also, you can't hear it, but there is a countdown or
Mm.
a count up from 1 to 10
Yeah.
in the last 10 seconds of the Byoyomi period, and it's in English.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if Lian Xiao is not familiar with English,
You have to
but
be for the
it
counting
would have been,
if you're for an international player. Yeah.
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 I don't think it would have been an international player. He would have played on many different styles of clocks. He probably
Yeah.
knows how to count to 10 in Japanese, Chinese, Korean, and English. So I don't think that was the problem.
Yeah.
But basically, everyone knows that when the 10,
Mm.
if it hits 10, that means that you've lost the Byoyomi period.
Yep.
You have to press the clock before it hits 10.
Wow. Okay.
And it hit 10,
Yeah.
so he lost.
Now, guys, my internet. Yeah, my internet's not treating me very kind. But I think I guess what I was saying is that the key point is that Korean, Japanese, Chinese are very different languages, and so it wouldn't be really fair to count in any of those languages, and I kind of expect people from the other language to be able to understand it, or if you count in one of them, or if you count in Japanese, then a Japanese player would be favored. You count in Korean would be favored, and so is the case of Chinese. So they might have just come to this weird compromise where they just use English to count in international competitions, just so that it disadvantages everyone, so therefore no one's got an advantage. And now you think that they really understand the rules of the games a lot, but if I'm not wrong, there was a very famous case of a Chinese player. Her name is Lu Jia. They play in an international competition, and the moment she finished capturing a piece, instead of keeping it in her bowl, she threw that piece back into the opponent's bowl. Okay, that stone, and you have captured actually matters because that gets counted, and even a pro level when they are playing versus international players, they're not even familiar with the other country's rules, or they're familiar with it, but in the heat of the moment, when you have to make an action without thinking, they kind of just forget about it. So, and I can imagine how counting in English can be a bit harder for Lian Xiao.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. But now he finally starts to ruminate about what he was about to do, and I'm pretty sure I don't know what language they use. Probably just bits and pieces of Chinese and Korean, and yeah. Well, anyway, that's it. I think in the chat there is a mention of stream lag. It could just be my internet, so do bear with me. Guys, I do point out to me if I'm lagging at all, because maybe just internet. Yeah. Well, so that's it about this saga of the Lian Xiao versus Park Jun-hwan. I guess they so congrats to Park Jun-hwan for making it through. In the other games,
sorry, there was also another mention from Hanamaru Shinjin So in Shinjin So's game. Thanks for correcting me here, Hanamaru. Shinjin So played over recklessly, didn't expect Xie Erhao to feel murderous. I said that Shinjin So was thoroughly outplayed. Hanamaru is correcting me there.
Yeah.
I'm sure he watched the game and I didn't. So
yeah,
thanks for that.
I do remember what happened was when I watched the commentaries, one of the commentators was saying that Shinjin So was maybe already ahead on territory, and instead of trying to make his group safe, he decided to make one more move to take more territory, and it didn't end happy for him. Which I have to say is a bit of a surprise to me, given that Shinjin So's record versus Xie Erhao before this game was 7-1. But anyway, in the last game, now Gu Zihao is now Chinese number 1, overtaken Ke. In fact, Ke has dropped to number 3. So somehow, just like Shinjin So, we managed to work in a reference about when to work in something about Ke in every episode, but maybe not for very long. But Gu Zihao was actually Chinese number 1. So I kind of expected Gu Zihao to beat Xu Jiayang. Of course, Xu Jiayang is a very strong player, but in this game, I believe the Shu versus Gu game was the last to finish.
It
And
definitely was.
yes, and Shu came out the victor, and it was a very hard fought battle if I remember correctly. It was Shu managed to get a bit of Gu, which also it's a bit of a upset, but this is not Shu's first time into the semifinals. If I remember correctly, it's his second.
You're correct. He was in the semi-finals of the
Yeah.
last completed MLB Cup, the one that
Mm.
I think he made the semi-final in 2019 in the MLB Cup.
Yes, very good. Now, so therefore, everything's progressed to the semifinals, where I guess
By the way,
technically,
that Shuja Young Guzi Hao game was
yeah,
extremely close.
yeah,
Um,
mm,
in the Yeah, it was half a point game, and
mm,
I was having trouble figuring out who was going to win by half a point in
yeah,
the end. Yeah.
yeah. So it was extremely close. And so what's
In fact, when I sorry, I have another story. When I went to the Go Club on Tuesday,
Yep.
which was when the game was being played, and
Mm,
when I turned up, there were three people all on Fox following the game.
yeah. Right. But then you were still following some other game. Anyway,
What? No.
anyway. So now we're into the semifinals. Okay, we're in the semifinals. So I guess technically they did a redraw. Actually I'm not 100% sure now, but I think they might have. They probably have. And
Yep.
because Park Jun-hwan's career is only hope so far, well remaining. So and I guess it's a bit unfortunate that Park Jun-hwan's drawn up with the highest rated Chinese player out of the three that made the semi. So it was Ding Hao versus Park Jun-hwan, which I guess undoubtedly is the game of the round. And
Oh, this was the game of the round. This was the game of the week for me.
yeah, well, I guess I'm not sure about the content because supposedly Ding Hao's got I guess as it described in Chinese media, it was a complete domination of Park Jun-hwan. So would you describe it like that, Gaza?
No,
No.
no, I thought it was a very no. In fact, from the first 50 moves were insane.
Yeah. It was they were fighting out
Did
a
you watch the game?
they were, I if I remember correctly, they were fighting out a Mi's flying dagger.
Yeah.
Yep, and it was just the fighting just got too crazy, and I couldn't really couldn't really understand
Oh, yeah.
much of it.
It was insanely complicated, and
Yeah,
both players made mistakes, which is why I can't
yeah,
really say that
hmm.
Puck, it was a complete domination from Ding Hao. In
Yeah,
fact, up until move 160 or something, the AI heavily favored Park Jun Hwan.
right.
But Ding Hao, from then on, Ding Hao played, um, amazing desperation go, and he made things extremely complicated, and it was even more impressive because Ding Hao was in Byoyomi
Hmm.
around move 160. Park Jun Hwan still had about 20 minutes of main time left, and yet it was Ding Hao who was playing all of these amazingly tricky moves.
Right.
Um, I would say from move 160 on, Ding Hao's performance was outstanding.
Yeah.
But
So I have to take my comments back.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now, sorry, guys. I was saying that I have to take my comments back because I probably have remembered incorrectly because I said Ding Hao was dominated Park Jun Hwan because you and the chat Hanamaru also corrected me. You both said that it wasn't a complete domination, okay, by Ding Hao. Now I do remember this one for a fact that after the game, I believe it was Tang Weixin who posted on Weibo saying that the older comrade, meaning Park Jun Hwan here, just got completely swindled by the younger player, because Ding Hao was just playing really complicated moves, and Park Jun
yep.
Hwan apparently
I,
couldn't keep up.
I, I definitely agree with the two-time Samsung Cup champion Tang
Yeah,
Weijing there.
yeah, yeah. And Hanamaru backed me up there as well, saying that yeah, that's what Tang Weishin said on Bilibili. So yeah, and I can imagine. But yeah, Ding Hao's done extremely well then. So Gaza, now that Ding Hao's beaten Park Jun Hwan, do you know what this means?
No.
Ah, well, it means that he's won the game. Well, secondly, it means that all the Korean players are eliminated from the tournament. Therefore, it's going to
Oh
be
yeah.
an all Chinese final. Also, this means that Ding Hao has made a second final, I do believe, within a 12 month period.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, referring to the last time Ding Hao made the final of the LG Cup, and he actually won it as well.
Yep.
Amazing stuff. Um, so then after the Ding Hao versus Park Jun Hwan, we have another, maybe less, I guess, looked forward to game. We
I
got
have to correct you. I have to correct you there.
yeah.
The other semi-final was played first.
Yes, sorry, yes. It was clearly said on Wiki, in Chinese Wiki, that the Xie Erhao game versus Xu Jiayang game happened first. Now, I guess this does remind me, this Samsung Cup does seems to be a bit different from the previous one in terms of its scheduling. I guess it seems like every round is scheduled over 2 days. Yeah. So we got Xie Erhao
Yeah.
playing Xu Jiayang. I put most of my coins on Xie Erhao because I wanted him to win, and the reason is because being a fan of Chinese Weiqi, I want someone who's been Xinjin So to win, so I supported Xie Erhao in this one, and I was very happy that Xie actually beat Xu Jiayang and made the final as well.
Now, interestingly enough, this game I actually did follow from start to finish.
For a change, yes, okay.
This may have been the only game in the Samsung Cup I followed from start to finish,
Yeah.
and I have to say, it was a strange game, and I mean, I don't mean to be rude or anything, but it was a it was a strange game. It felt like as soon as they got out of the opening, or as soon as like the opening finished, they just played endgame moves.
Right.
Like it just felt like there was no sort of big attacks or anything. It was just Yosei. It was just entirely Yosei. Like I may be like obviously I'm not a very strong player, but yeah, to me it just felt like very timid game to me. I mean, obviously it was still high quality, um, and the one upside is that the game was insanely close in terms of points from start to finish. So it was difficult to know who was going to win, but yeah, there wasn't really any big attacks or anything like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So, uh, I I don't recall what's happened in the Kifu in this game. But I if I remember correctly, the paper did say that Xu Jiayang didn't really perform at his best. So possibly he just made some mistakes in Yosei. I can't really recall what's happened. But
yeah, he did.
whatever the story was, we have Xie Hao and Ding Hao into the final. And given
Yep.
that this is another all Chinese final, it is a very, I can imagine, a very painful loss for Park Jun Hwan, which is what Offer Zivoni in the chat is saying as well. And the final is a best of three, as per usual in, I guess, the majority of international tournaments nowadays. Yes. So Gaza, we're now into the final. Ding Hao and Xie Erhao both have won a world major before. Ding Hao the LG Cup, and Xie Erhao, I do believe the Samsung, the LG Cup, also the LG
LG
Cup,
Cup.
over
Yeah, they both won it.
Yamayuta 2-1. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have another player winning 2 international titles. Now, Gaza, winning 1 international title is a huge achievement. Winning 2
Yeah.
is, I guess, doubly special. And of the crop of players that are currently highly active, very few have won exactly 2 titles. So the only one that comes to mind is Mi Yuting. He's won 2 League Cups, but I can't
Yeah,
seem to
he's won two
think.
titles. Yep,
Yep,
and Kang Dong Yun.
and Kim Dong Yun, and I can't think of anyone else who's done that. I guess
Let
majority of the
me
Chinese
check.
players have won just one. Yeah, Gaza, you were saying?
Yeah, I don't think anyone else apart from Kang Dong Yoon that participated in this Samsung Cup has
Mm.
won exactly
Yeah,
two titles.
yeah,
Let me see.
mm.
Tan Zhao has only won one.
Yeah.
Lian Xiao. Oh, by the way, Lian Xiao, I
Mm.
did want to mention this. Oh, Guzi Hao has won two.
Good. Oh yeah, good Zhao. Yep, Samsung Cup
Yeah,
and
he's won
Lanka
two.
Cup. Yep.
Yeah. And Lian Zhao, I just want to point out, I think he's participated in 21 world majors now,
Yeah.
and he's made one semi-final
Mm.
and no finals.
Yeah. Believe it or
Quite
not.
a stark contrast to his
Yeah.
his Chinese teammates of like relatively equal
Mm.
caliber.
Yeah. And
You say?
yeah, and this is something that's noted about Lian Xiao. Now he's consistently ranked in the top 10 in China. He's won
Yeah.
many domestic titles, but I think until recently he hasn't even made the semi-final of an international major.
Yes, he's only made the semi-final of the Chunlan Cup,
Mm.
the one that Shinjin So
Yeah.
won. So not the most recent one, but the one before
Yeah.
that.
And Hanamaru is saying that there's a huge contingent of Chinese champion with one world titles, and that's what I was gonna say as well, because in Chinese media that group of players is referred to as the one crowned group, and I guess we're now seeing people breaking out the one crown group, and I'm not sure what it is. Could it be because the combination of Kerje, Park Jun Hwan, and Shin Jin So are just not as dominant um, in the past, so that these one crown groups are starting to break out, or is it just a matter of time, given that they've been there for
I
the
think it's
longest?
just I think it's just yeah, just a matter of time. Like
Mm.
there really isn't any like after Shinjin So, there really isn't any
Mm.
um play like there's just not enough group of players breaking out
Yeah.
post Shinjin So. Like
Mm.
the strongest players born after Shinjin So are probably Wang Jinghao,
Yeah.
Zhu Haohong.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right? Neither of those players has made a semi-final.
No.
So that like there's really like it just seems inevitable that the Kerja generation will win some more titles, and clearly Kerja
Mm.
is no longer the dominant player that he was.
Wow.
Just to hog all the titles.
Gather.
Um,
This is huge, coming from the number one fan of Kerja, and that is you. You're the number one fan
well,
of Kerja.
actually, I've had to cede that title. I'm now the number two fan. I got an email from Kerja's mother
All right.
stating that she was the number one fan and she was going to fight me, and I said no, you can take the crown. So
Wow.
I will take the number two
Yeah.
fan.
Now, talking about Kerja, I wonder where is Kerja's father, because apparently Kerja's father is an amateur one dan, and it's
Oh, what a
it's
legend!
it's it's Kerja's father who got him into playing Weiqi. And recently, Kerja participated in a competition, a pair go competition, with his father as his partner. Believe it or not.
I think he
So
actually played during the Samsung Cup,
right. Oh wow.
and it wouldn't be called pair go; it's called Rengo.
Oh.
Technically, pair go
Hmm.
is man and woman.
Oh, is that right? I didn't
Yes,
know that. I thought
Rengo is
okay.
just two players.
Well, I'm gonna invent a game called Apple Go, just so that I don't have to talk about Pair Go anymore. Um,
Oh, that's
that's
another hilarious
yeah,
Xiao Dai knee slapper there.
yeah, yeah. Okay, whatever it is, just exactly 1 month before Christmas, we have the first game of the final, and that happened, I believe, yesterday. And today, of course, is a rest day, and tomorrow and the day after will be game 2 and 3. If game two,
Yeah, but what happened
if
in
game two
game one?
happens. Now, in game one, we have Ding Hao versus Xie Erhao. Now, this I remember now. Game one was described as a fairly comprehensive victory for Ding Hao. So, Ding Hao just outplayed Xie Erhao. I don't know if you saw the Kifu or watched the game, Gaza. I don't know if you comments.
I wouldn't call it comprehensive.
Yeah.
Xie Erhao was outplayed
Okay.
in the end, but it wasn't you it wasn't like you knew who was going to win from the start.
Right. Yes.
I think it was about. No, there was one big mistake. If you
Yep.
so the big mistake I think was move 100 and Xie Erhao was white, and I think the big mistake was move 136.
Right. Yeah, there is a big drop there. Yep.
Yeah, so I think I don't not sure what entirely the reasoning, but I think that Xie Erhao needed to play a move on the left in the upper, like to help his white group in the upper left.
Yep.
Oh, you don't have the key to do.
I have the key. I'm about to open up the key for now.
Yeah, I think we might just have a look at this position because
So you want to see 136?
Yeah. So instead of that move,
yeah,
I think the AI wanted white to play on the region in the upper left. Give it a little bit. I think just one more move. Like it is Gote, I guess, but after move 136, after what Xie Erhao did play, you see what how Ding Hao responded.
Peaked. Yep.
Yeah, and now Xie Erhao needs to
connect.
It's in a bit of trouble. It'll live.
Yeah. Okay.
It will live, but it won't be pretty.
Okay.
And it's just there was no reason for white to allow that.
Right. I think white is barely living. Yeah, it's living Gote.
No, white lives. White's definitely alive now.
Living Gote. Yeah.
Living Gote. Yeah.
Yeah. And probably the top bit got maybe a bit messed up. So black got a few more points. I suspect.
Yeah. So then white tries to desperately live in the top right.
Yeah. Okay.
And and then from this point.
Yeah. Okay.
It's sayonara.
Sayonara.
GG.
So Ding Hao won this game, and I guess I was gonna say that if you look at the ratings, you would have Ding Hao ranked in the top 10 in the world. So and based on this particular rating, he's ranked number 5. But Xie Erhao is actually down.
Oh, is this shoulder hit ratings? Shoulderhit.com.
Yeah, shoulder hit ratings too. Shoulderhit.com. Yes. So then we got Xie Erhao down at the now actually 18th spot after he beat Xinjin. So I do believe he was down at the 30 something spot. But of course between 18 and 30 something, that's maybe actually there's quite a few points in it. So let's go to Go ratings. But I guess my point is that Ding Hao, of course, just on paper, is much more favored than Xie Erhao. So if you look at Go ratings, you have Ding Hao at number 5, similar to Shoulder Hit, and Kerji at 7, and then you got Xie Erhao. Where is he? He should be down at the bottom end. So he's at actually 21, so similar to Shoulder Hit. So Shoulder Hit had him at 2018. He's at 21. So just on paper, Ding Hao is much more favored.
Yes, but you do have to remember that last year Choi Jong beat Yang Dingjin, Byun Sangil, and Ichiriki Ryo.
Yeah. And how did she do this year?
Well, I'm just I mean she lost the first game, but I'm just saying that it doesn't matter what shoulder hit or Go ratings says.
Yeah.
All that matters is how you play on the day, and it's definitely.
And Gaza, you're only half right. You're only half right. It doesn't really matter what Go rating says.
Yeah. Fine,
okay,
fine.
keep going. Yeah.
Okay, so game 2 is tomorrow.
Yeah, game 2 is tomorrow.
If Ding Hao wins, they won't play game 3 because Ding Hao would have won 2 games already.
Correct. Yep.
So I'm kind of hoping that Xie Erhao wins because I always like seeing it go to a decider.
Yeah.
And then in game 3, I'm hoping Choi Jong wins.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
And Song take on. I think he'll be able to convince me that Choi Jong can win. So
Okay, sure. Now, I guess if Ding Hao wins tomorrow, are you off the Kerjie train and onto the Ding Hao train?
no,
No, okay. Well, is Ding
Chris
Hao
has
gonna?
got 8 titles, by the way.
Okay, wow. Ding Hao's got two,
Yeah,
and
eight's bigger than 2.
he's got 0 from to 2 in less than 12 months.
Ding Hao does have more LG Cups though.
Yeah. Yes, and if you just wait maybe 4 years, Ding Hao could have 8 at this rate. Okay. But anyway, so I can't wait. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, lovely. Now
Yeah.
let's get on to what I was actually watching instead of the Samsung Cup.
Yeah. You were watching
I was
the
watching Tengen. I was watching the
Tengen.
Japanese Tengen Game 3.
Believe it or not, yes.
Yeah.
Now, guys,
And you know what? You know what's even funnier?
what?
Hanamaru has posted in the chat. Gaza completely didn't follow the Samsung Cup at all.
Yeah.
Now it's not really true. I did I did follow the Samsung Cup, just not the minutiae of the games.
Yeah.
But when it came to the Tengen, I started watching Game 3 and I thought to myself, Tengen's best of 5.
Yeah.
Seki Kotaro just needs to win this, and he's retained the Tengen.
Ooh.
I completely didn't realize
Yeah.
that Seki Kotaro actually lost Game 2.
Yes. It was.
I
You're
thought,
very
he won
attentive.
it.
But I guess I can't blame you because I do remember Ichiriki was like almost dead lost according to AI, but he managed to come back. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it was indeed one game apiece after 2 games of the Tengen.
Yep.
So Game 3 was not a deciding game. Game 3 will just determine who's in Kataban.
Right. Yep.
Still an important game, of course. I mean, all of the games are important.
Yeah.
And Ichiriki, he did well.
Yeah.
Let's say that because he won the game.
Yeah.
Let's see. There was 1 point. 1 point. Yeah. Okay. So there's 1 point where Seki Kotaro basically lost. And if you don't have the key for, do you? Okay.
I don't have the fully loaded key for. I can look for it, but Gaza, you can just keep talking while I look for it.
Yeah. So basically, what happened was the Tengen final is a 3 hours main time each. So it's not that long for a Japanese game because
Right.
3 hours main time is the same as the LG Cup.
Yeah.
So whereas other titles like the Kisei and the Meijin, they're like 2 days, 8 hours apiece.
Yeah.
So they played over 1 day and it got to move 91 and they had a ko.
Right.
And ko's always seem to be the place where pros are most likely to make mistakes. I mean, pros don't make many mistakes.
Yeah.
But when it comes to ko's, they seem to make mistakes more often than in other positions.
Yep. Sure.
Just from my experience, and that makes sense because ko's are very tricky. And the problem here is that Seki Kotaro needed to find a good ko threat, and he didn't.
Oh.
If you see what he plays,
He cut.
he cuts. It wasn't. And Ichiriki, if you see what Ichiriki's response is,
Takes right away.
he takes the ko.
Yeah.
He ignores the cut because it wasn't big enough.
Yeah. Because okay.
That black group on the right doesn't die. So it was just a push for a few points, right?
Yeah. It's a big yose, I guess. And I guess black seal's salvageable somehow. I think.
Well, yeah, I'm not even sure if white. Yeah, so that white. Well, then, actually, it was actually quite good reading by Ichiriki because, in the end, so if you actually go through the moves, there's only a few more moves.
Yeah.
The game doesn't last that much longer. There
Yeah.
is a fight on the right,
Yeah.
and you can see that it does get quite close in terms of whether or not black lives on the right hand side. In the end, it becomes a ko itself,
Yes. Yes. Oh.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The problem, though, is that white doesn't have big enough ko threats.
Zero close sets, basically. Yeah.
Well, nothing substantial because all of black's
Yeah.
major groups are safe.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're safe enough.
Yeah.
And white is just way behind on points.
Yeah. Especially considering that the whole middle here, are white captured. So yeah. Okay. Well, that's a bummer. But I guess the good news.
It's certainly a bummer for Seki Kotaro, but it wasn't a good. Honestly, it wasn't a good code thread. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah. It's a very tricky one. Maybe at this point, I don't know. Maybe Seki already doesn't have too many good options. I'm not sure if AI suggested another better code thread, but yeah, it didn't. I guess it's a shame that it didn't work out for Seki. Now I do remember recently there seems to be a little bit of a theme in the Japanese media. I guess after Japan's maybe less than ideal performance at the Asian Games, that Ichiriki and Shibano, I think both, and maybe even Yamayuta, they all said something about, if Japan doesn't, try to catch up with China and Korea in some way, they will continue to fall behind. I guess that's a bit of a tautology, but I guess even top players like Yama, Shibano, or Ichiriki are realizing how big of an issue it is for Japan to continue to lag so far behind the other two countries. And I mean, things are already happening in Japan because they have lost Honimbo as a major title. The income of the top Go players can only decrease from this point on. And they
That
should
means
feel.
that the international titles will be more lucrative to the Japanese players.
Yeah, but I think on the internet forums they keep putting forward this reason that because the domestic scene is more lucrative, that's why the Japanese players don't pay that much attention to the international one, which is a bit of a dead horse that shouldn't be flogged anymore, because obviously Japanese players were able to win international tournaments in the past. I really don't think it's a matter of not caring, because it's just that they're just not competitive enough for some reason. And the reason Samsung Cup is a great example, because all the top Japanese players participated, if I'm not wrong. I think almost all.
No, Seki Kotaro and Ichiriki did not participate in the Samsung Cup.
Correct.
Because of the Tengen.
Right, because of the Tengen. But
Shibano also didn't participate in the Samsung Cup.
Right, but whatever happened, all of them were eliminated. Now, Gaza, if you recall, there was a Korean league with a Japanese team. The Korean league had a Japanese team in there in the last season.
Yep, the Korean Baduk League.
Yeah, Baduk League. But I believe, according to our sources, this is no longer the case. They have canned the international teams in the Korean league. So there's going to be less chances for Japanese players to play against players from China and Japan. So, and I guess what's even more sad for me, Gaza, is that it seems to be just Japan, because even Taiwan with Xie Erhao is actually doing quite well. They've made it past the first round of the Samsung Cup and have won the Asian Games gold medal. So go figure.
Yes. I do hope. Unfortunately, though, Xie Erhao did so badly in last season's JAR League that he wasn't picked up by a team this season.
Yeah.
I hope that he gets picked up next season. He should.
Yeah.
But it's disappointing that he's skipped the season now.
Yeah. Oh wow.
But yeah, I thoroughly agree with you. It's very disappointing that Japan are really in terms of the open competitions, are really just a non-entity. Seems like a non-entity at the moment.
Yeah.
I would love to see. Things can change. It's entirely possible that in the distant future, Japan will be a force again. I mean, 40 years ago, Korea weren't really much of an entity.
Mm.
And it only took them, 5 years.
Yeah.
From 1983, it only took them 5 years before they had a world champion. So you never know. Hopefully, Japan will start to become good. It is hard to see it, but I think it would be great for competition
Yeah.
to have someone other than Korea and China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess Japan's recent performance also, I guess, explains my slightly diminished interest in the Japanese title scene recently.
Yeah.
But I still follow it. And good news for Seki Kotaro, I guess. Is that I guess he finally made a major league. I do believe he's made the
Yes,
major
before we
league.
go on to that, we
Yeah.
do have another comment.
Yeah.
Ofer saying it was a nice game. I'm not sure if he's talking about Samsung Cup Final Game 1 or the Tengen Final Game 3, but
Yeah.
I think both were nice games. So I agree. Thanks for the comment,
Yep.
Ofer. But yes, like you were saying, Seki Kotaro has finally made the Meijin League in
Believe it or not,
Japan.
yes.
And I'll send you the Japanese link
Yep.
to the Meijin. It may not have all of the information yet, but there are the Meijin League is a league of 9 players that play round robin. So each player plays 8 games,
Yep.
and the winner of that will challenge the current Meijin title holder for the title.
Yep.
Okay, so let me send you a link. It is in Japanese, so
Sure.
it may not be so easy. Well, you've already clicked on it anyway.
Yeah, I already got the 49th Meijin League. It tells me
Yes.
who are the people who have made it into the league because it says final prelim. Yep.
Yes. So if we start with the players that retained their spot
We can go back to last year's page. Yep.
in the league from last season.
Yep.
Now, first off, Iyama Yuta won the league last season. He lost the title match to Shibano. Shibano retained his title.
Did he win
But
the league?
Iyama
Did he win the league or did
obviously
he just
returns
come
to the
equal
Meijin League, and
first?
he will be the top.
Guys, I was saying, did Yama Yuta win the league or he just came equal first?
Yes. He tied for first place, and then he won the playoff.
Correct,
So technically, he won the league.
Okay, sure.
Yes.
All right.
In any case, since he lost the title match, he will be the number 1 seed in this upcoming league. Ichiriki Ryo, he lost the playoff for the league, so he basically came equal first, but then lost the playoff. So he will be the 2nd seed. Yu Zhengqi from Kansai Kiin, the Taiwanese player from Kansai Kiin,
Yep.
he will be 3rd seed.
Yep.
A bit of a veteran, Yamashita Keigo,
Yep.
will be the 4th seed.
Yep.
And then another Taiwanese player, Su Shaowan,
Yep.
former Judan and I believe Gosei title holder.
Fifth seed.
He is the 5th seed.
Yes.
And then the other 4 spots in the league are determined by playoffs. And if you look at the playoffs, we have Choyu,
Yep.
another veteran. In fact, he's so old, he is the most recent Japanese player to win a world title.
And that goes back to 2006, if I remember correctly.
Yes, the LG Cup.
Yes. Now, guys, I just want to point out, I mean, of course, Cho Yu being, a bit older and he's still making one of the top leagues in Japan is a bit of a...
Well, let's just discuss who's made the other players that have made the league before you because I do want to hear your thoughts on that. I was going to ask you about that actually.
Okay, sure. Okay, go on.
Yes. So Fujita Akihiko.
Yep.
I believe he was in the league last year. He did finish outside the top 5, so he had to re-qualify, and he did.
Yep.
So he's back in the league. Shida Tatsuya, I think he was another player that was in the league
last year. Yes, correct.
Let
he
me
was.
just check.
Yeah, he was. Yep.
Yes, he was. So he had to re-qualify, which he did. And then, Seki Kotaro, I believe he would be the only new player. Well, he would be the only player to to be in the Meijin League for the first time.
Right. Yeah.
And obviously, he's the very young player that's in the Meijin League.
Yeah.
Now, yes, as you mentioned, the Meijin League. There's 9 players. These are you would expect. You would expect these would represent 9 of the top 10 players, or around about 9 of the top 10 players in Japan, with the other player being the Meijin title holder himself.
Yeah.
And as you said, there are two quite senior members, Yamashita Keigo and Cho Yu.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, those players, they're quite old, and you're saying that's a bit sad for Japanese Go. That seems to be your opinion. Is that right?
Yeah. I'm not sure if I would go as far as to say sad, but I would say it definitely feels abnormal.
That's interesting. I did see some comments by you saying it was sad, but maybe I misread.
Okay, sure. Maybe I'm a bit sad, yes.
But Yamashita Keigo, so he is he's 45 years old. Choyu is 43 years old.
Yep.
When you look at the, for instance, the similar league in Korea, the Korea's strongest league, you don't see, like you see, I think the oldest would be Park Jun-hwan and Kang Dong-yoon or Kim Ji-sok.
How about Won Sung-jin?
Won Sung-jin, yes, and Won Sung-jin is 38.
Yes.
So would you say that's all that much difference?
Hard to say, because I would say Cho Yu as kind of like at least half a gen above Wang Songjin, or maybe the same generation. And if you look at the same generation in China, they're all basically retired, So I don't know what it is, but yeah.
Wow, I just saw a comment from Ofa. At least it's not Yoda Norimoto.
I actually like him.
We did have a little piece on him in a much earlier podcast. How he was Well, we've had quite several pieces. One where he got banned by the Neon King, and one where he explained that he basically was really bad at spending money.
Yes.
Yes. But Yoda Norimoto is quite an old player. He was the first ever Samsung Cup champion. That was back in 1996. So.
And you call him old, but he's still in the final prelim, believe it or not, of the Meijin League. He basically just maybe a few games, like
what?
2 or 3 games away.
Was he in the?
Yeah, he was in the same group as Cho Yu, and not only that.
Oh my God, he was.
Yeah. So it's not. I guess it's not that big of a thing. Satoshi Yuki is also in the final prelim. He was. So these are veterans.
Yuki Satoshi.
Yes. So these are.
He's close to. He's actually close to 1,400 career wins.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, go figure. These are teams that are still. These are players that are still making the final rounds of one of the major leagues in Japan. Like,
do you think it's a case of these players, still close to the top, or perhaps the format for the qualification is a little bit outdated?
Well, it's very difficult to I guess do a full analysis. I think it's a combination of a few of these things, because I guess even if you're in your 40s, you're still like very strong. It's just that if you have a huge crop of young players coming through, and as the game gets shorter and shorter, as is the case in China and Korea, you do tend to lose that I guess mental agility to play versus the younger players. I mean, that just happens, right? And
that's a good point that you mentioned here, because these Meijin qualification games are actually 5 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
We did just mention that the Tengen, the final of the Tengen, is 3 hours.
Yeah.
These aren't even Meijin League games. These are the qualifiers for the Meijin League. And the final qualifiers at least are 5 hours long. The prelims prior to these final qualifiers, they're only 3 hours.
Yeah.
But these final ones are 5 hours. They take all day.
Yeah. So I guess I can imagine why these longer games maybe favor the the older players because they have more time to think about this. Now, just to think back in I believe the 60s, Yao Sakata, before he lost the Meijin title to Rin Kaiho, who's already 81 this year, he was saying that there cannot be a Meijin, at 22. But of course, Rin Kaiho did win the Meijin at 22. But back in Yao Sakata's time, basically you had to be 40 to be considered a top player because you just haven't accumulated enough experience. You haven't played enough games to be able to kind of call yourself a top player. But nowadays, of course, you could have Kerje coming out winning international titles at 17. It's a totally different world now. I don't know what's changed.
Well, I do like the fact that with the Meijin, even if you are an entrance level pro, you still
get a chance.
Theoretically, have the possibility to win the Meijin at your first attempt.
Yes.
Because I do know this is a different sport, but in shogi, I believe there is a Meijin title. Shogi is a Japanese board game that's a bit similar to chess. There's a Meijin title, but in that you have like tiers, and you can only go up one tier every year.
Right. Yes.
And you need to get to like the 5th tier before you can even challenge for the Meijin title.
Yeah.
So even if you are somehow, even if you're an entry level pro and you're somehow just theoretically the best player in the world at shogi, you still have to wait 5 years before you even have the chance to get the Meijin title. Whereas in Go, in Japan, even the Kisei, you can win on your first attempt.
Yeah. Now, guys, now that you mentioned shogi, I have to do, even though this is a show about Go, I do have to do a hat tip to Fujie Sota. This is this young man here. He's holding up this calligraphy saying 8 crowns. So he holds, I believe, all 8
he's absolutely.
He holds all 8 major titles in shogi. So this is like what Yama Yuta has achieved, holding all 7 titles, and I believe he's the first player to do so because the player before him that's widely considered to be the greatest ever, Hanamaru Habu, has only won 7 titles.
Habu Yoshiharu.
Yes, Habu Yoshiharu.
Yes, back when Habu Yoshiharu won 7 titles, there were only 7 titles.
Correct.
I believe the 8th title was introduced maybe 5 years ago.
Very, very recently. So I guess this is another really interesting point about the state of shogi versus Go. That shogi,
this guy's 21.
Yeah, he's a beast. He's like he I believe when he was 19, he was already widely considered to be one of the best. But you're right. It took him quite a bit of time to progress through one of the shogi league systems, but he eventually ended up winning it. Of course, Meijin is probably one of the most prestigious titles in shogi. I guess that it's not technically the most what do you call it, highly paid one. I believe the most highly paid one is called Yuryusei. But this is pretty prestigious, and and I guess the other point I was going to make is that in shogi they're making new titles, whereas in Go it feels like that you're lucky not to lose a title in the next few years. Okay, so that goes to show how much decline in the Japanese Go scene is kind of impacting I guess everyone in the Go industry. But hey. I have to do this hat tip to this guy. He's just a beast. Okay,
yes.
Now, Gaza, you did mention the whole system in Japan, and I did read quite a bit about the Japanese system in that it seems to be stacked against the younger player. So if I look at the final prelim here, I see a name that I quite like, and I want to get more familiar with in the future, which is that what's his now I forgot his name. Fukuoka Kotaro. Yes. So this guy, he's quite young. He did quite well in the Korean League, but
we've talked about him before. He made the final of the Globus Cup.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the future bright stars of Japanese Go. And I believe he's only, how old is he? He's 17, 18, something like that.
Yeah, he's still a
17.
teenager.
He's 17,
Pretty
so he's still pretty young. But it's quite stacked against him. I can imagine that he had to play quite a few games just to make it this far, and there's no room for error. You could lose one game, and in this case, to my favorite player, Conor Wynn. By the way, Conor Wynn is not my favorite player. Okay, he lost to Conor Wynn, and so he didn't even get to face Cho Yu, and so he didn't make it. So he probably just made one mistake, in the long chain of game that he had to play, and already because of that, he didn't make the biggest league in the game. But
yeah,
he's definitely going to be a title holder. Yeah.
Now he'll have to go back to the previous,
Yeah.
like the previous prelim A,
Yeah.
just to get back to the final qualifier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's quite sad.
I'm not sure. I think he would. Yeah, he would have to go back to prelim A.
Yeah.
And then if he loses, if he gets unlucky and loses a game there, he'll have to go back another tier.
Yeah.
In the prelim.
Yeah.
Whereas players in the Meijin League, if you come 5th out of 9,
yeah,
you don't even have to requalify. Like you literally are mid-table.
Yeah.
And you get to keep your spot. It's very top-heavy biased, but is that a good thing? I don't know.
I mean, I'm not sure if it's something to do with Japanese culture where it's kind of stacked against the younger players or whatever it is. I do think that maybe that it's a bit harder for the younger generation to break through. But even with that difficulty,
yeah. And in the past, actually,
you're saying, go on.
I think in the past, I think this is actually the first time this 49th Meijin season. This is the first time that there have been 4 qualification spots for the league. In the past, the top 6. In the past, the top 6 in the league kept their spot. You could come 6th, which probably means you lost more games than you won, and you get to keep your spot in the past.
Yeah.
And there would only be 3 spots available for qualifying.
Right.
Whereas now, there's a bit more opportunity for players. So it was even worse.
Yeah. So I guess Offers, if only made an interesting point, saying that maybe if there was another Hikaru no Go, the cultural phenomenon, the manga about the Go, and maybe there will be a revival of, it will inspire another generation of Japanese Go players. That is actually very interesting because I think people maybe think like that because of the famous manga called Captain Tsubasa, which is a soccer manga. And of course, recently Japan have just beaten Germany 4-1. They've beaten a lot of strong teams. Basically, I could see Japan winning the World Cup in my lifetime. Okay, that's how good Japanese soccer have become now. They might even enter the world's top 10. Okay, in the world rankings at some point. So that manga alone is responsible for a lot of the current crop of Japanese pros, because I think if you look at the interviews of some of the Japanese soccer players, a lot of them will just reference this particular manga for helping them become wanting to become pro soccer players. I think in a recent survey of Japanese youth, they asked young boys what profession they want to do when you grow up. I think the number 1 was baseball player, professional baseball player, and number 2 was soccer player. And I don't know where Go player ranks, probably not that high. But yeah, so this kind of manga, something like Hikaru no Go, can maybe have a bit of an impact. I would not be surprised if Seki Kotaro mentioned that as one of these influences. But I sometimes think that the influence of this manga, these popular animes, their possible effect on society is kind of a bit overstated, because Gaza, can you have a guess of what is voted in Japan as the manga of the century for last century?
Cowboy Bebop.
That show, I'm not even sure was originally even a manga. Okay.
Okay. Well, clearly I'm clueless.
Yes. Okay. I do believe it's this particular show called Slam Dunk, which is a basketball manga. And I love this manga. I love this manga growing up. It was probably one of the best, and I can see why it got voted as the manga of the century. But what is the state of Japanese basketball? It's improved a lot, but considering this manga came out in the early 90s or mid 90s, I wouldn't say its impact on Japanese basketball was that profound, despite the fact that it was extremely popular.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I was surprised. I would have thought after this manga came out that a lot of 2 meter tall Japanese people would have been born.
Good joke. But whatever it is, I mean, the NBA, they do have a lot of, I guess, shorter players now. They put out a lineup of 5 3-point shooters. That's possible, but maybe physique is a factor in this. But you definitely don't think that in a game like Go that anything apart from your intellectual ability have anything to do with this. So and I guess there is another manga that came out recently that is about Go, but I think it's about, I guess, either Rengo or Peigo, one of them. Okay, and that unfortunately doesn't seem to have the same cultural impact as Hikaru no Go at the moment. So I just wanted to mention this point, just because all of us have only mentioned this. But I would say that manga, as popular and as influential as they are, maybe their effect on society as a whole, in terms of getting people to play their sport, is maybe not that high. Okay, and getting the whole population to be good at it. Okay, but anyway, that's just my feeling, my points. So Gaza, you were saying?
No, I wasn't saying anything. We have some more comments in the chat. Don't you both? Adamar is accusing us of reckoning that longer time controls is the death of Japanese Go.
Oh, that is a very interesting point. Do you think, Gaza?
Yep.
Now, Gaza. Now, we all. I mean, I grew up reading this story of Go Seigan playing versus the Meijin of the time, and that game took 3 months. Obviously, at some point, people thought that wasn't really gonna work, so they kind of put in time control. So, I believe it or not, it was I guess back then only Japan played professional Go, so they were the first to put in time controls. And for whatever reason, maybe because the dominance of Korea and the fact that they just have 2 Baduk channels that constantly need to put on content, they seem to be the driving force behind getting games on TV. And because of the viewership and all the sponsorship money, they seem to be the one driving force behind the fact that time controls are getting shorter and shorter. So I don't know, Gaza, but I can take either a longer game or a shorter game, because most of my watchings are, what do you call it, not an active watching like I'm watching soccer or something. It's just more, I take a glance at it and then do something else and take another glance at it and we listen to the commentary. It's very rarely that I focus 4 or 5 hours on a game anyway, so it doesn't really make a huge difference to me. But
I must say I do struggle to watch the Japanese title games.
Right.
They can go. I'll sometimes watch a game and then I'll go do some exercise or something for like an hour.
Yeah.
And I'll come back and they haven't even made a move.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
It can just be.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're watching the games on Baduk TV in Korea, they don't seem to go 5 minutes without at least making a move.
Yeah. Now we know that the Korean Baduks are kind of made for TV, even though it's harder and harder to make that case, because I don't know how many young people nowadays, having the TikTok that gives them that 10-second hormone boost, wants to go and watch a 2-hour game of Baduk. Probably not that many. But whatever it is, it's made for TV. All of the major titles are still sponsored by newspapers. I guess.
Yeah. So, like as an example, you look at Kerr.
Yeah.
And obviously, he was the best player in the world.
Yes.
When AlphaGo came along,
Yes.
And AlphaGo obviously played against Lee Sedol first, but then they played against Kerjay with a stronger version. And Kerjay won a few more titles after that, but since 2020, he hasn't won any world titles.
Yeah.
And like that was 2020 was probably around the year when AI became so strong that people could get it for free on their home computer, right?
Yeah. Carago and Leela.
Katago.
Yeah.
Whereas all of these players, if you look at like images from the Samsung Cup, like the final 8, all of these players started their career they turned pro well before 2016,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
Or 2015 when AlphaGo first beat Fan Yin.
Yep.
Or I think his name was Fan Yin.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And yeah, so for these players, when they first turned pro and they first started studying to become stronger, they weren't using AI. They were using different studying methods.
Yeah.
But now all of them obviously have to be, they have to use AI. And players like Shinjin So and, Ding Hao and stuff, they're clearly among the best at using AI to get stronger.
Yep.
And, players like Guzi Hao and Xie Erhao, Guzi Hao won a world title this year. Xie Erhao is in a final, and he's also in the Nongshim Cup. And they both won their world titles, their first world titles back, I think, in 2018.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when Guzi Hao won his world title, but it would have been around 2018. And, this was when, obviously, AI was around in 2018. Guzi actually won the Samsung Cup in 2017. So this would probably be around the time when programs outside of AlphaGo were starting to be developed. Like maybe, Leela, or I don't know what the Chinese version would have been. But it would certainly not be as sophisticated as the versions we have now. So back when they were winning their world titles, they probably weren't using AI that much. And then, 5-6 years later, they're winning world titles again. So maybe you could say that their careers have been revived by AI. Fan Hui, not Fan Yin.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
Thanks for the correction there. But yeah, these players definitely have. Some of these players have been strong just before AI came to dominate and in the present. Of course, it's hard to say that if AI didn't come along that they wouldn't have won more world titles anyway.
Yeah.
You definitely can't say that, but what you can say is that some players seem to have improved. Like some players seem to have responded well to the AI era, and some players not so well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Hanamaru also made a very interesting point here. It says, before the rise of Korea and eventually China, Japan could have gotten ahead of that curve if they had played with this type of time controls. I'm not really sure, because I guess if you're on top, what is the reason for you to change, and all these social trends about pay TV and and now like pay TV like just didn't exist in Japan. So I don't know what happens in Japan. I do know Japan has a shogi and Baduk shogi and Go channel. So I don't know how that works, but it's for some reason it seems
I believe that one actually broadcast the Meijin.
Right, but for
the
reason,
Go shogi channel, I believe, broadcast the Meijin. Yeah.
Right. But for some reason the Korean pay TV like Baduk seem to have just exploded. I don't know if it's because of Cho Han Hyun and Lee Chang Ho doing so well and that helped the station, or is it because they have this station and therefore it helped the Korean players make a decent living, and hence the explosion of Korean Go. I really don't know. It might be a chicken and egg, but if I go back to thinking about Japan in the maybe even in the 80s, they were writing articles such as, is Lee Chang Ho good enough to make the Meijin League? They were fairly dismissive of Lee Chang-ho's playing style when he was just emerging. So when you're obviously the best in the world, you probably don't think about that much. It's like American basketball, like USA basketball. Why do they have to think about the rest of the world until they kind of start losing, and then they say, "Oh, I keep losing. What's happening?" And maybe that's when they will realize, and that will take many years. I think for now with Japan, there's no going back because they obviously haven't built an audience for pay TV for these kind of things, and it's still sponsored by newspapers, so we don't know what's going to happen. So that's,
it's also good. Also, have to remember that all of the world majors nowadays are either 2 hours main time or 3 hours main time, or somewhere in between. Like the Shonen Cup is 2.5.
Yeah.
The Sun Cup is 2.5.
Yeah.
It's not that quick.
Yeah.
Korea, a lot of the games in Korea are like 1 hour games or faster. I think the only games in Korea that are even 2 hours are the Korea's strongest league.
Right.
There's nothing longer in the Korean domestic scene, and yet you've still got plenty of Koreans winning the LG Cup, which is 3 hours.
Yeah.
Japan is the only country that's playing 3-hour games, and they're playing tons of 3-hour games. Most of the qualifiers for the Meijin and Kisei are 3 hours.
Yeah.
You've got the Tengen, the Gosei, the Judan. They're all 3 hours. The Urza 3 hours.
Yeah.
Lots of 3-hour games, and they're not winning the LG Cup. They haven't won the LG Cup since Choyu almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not just the I think it's not just the time controls. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the way to think about this is Magnus Carlsen. I'm pretty sure he's not number one in all the time controls in chess, but I imagine he'd be pretty up there in all the time controls. So it's really hard to say. I think I every now and then I see on forums and chat rooms that it says time control a factor for Japan. I don't really know if that argument really holds. But hey, I guess it is what it is. It's Japan. It's definitely behind China and Korea, and sometimes when they go head to head against Taiwan, they don't seem to be having any advantage, if at all. Maybe they're even at a disadvantage versus Taiwan as well.
They're definitely closer in relative strength to Taiwan than they are to Korea and China.
Yeah. I guess that's quite a lengthy discussion about Japanese Go. I think we've done enough, and just look at this Go ratings. The highest ranked Japanese player is Yama Yuta at 25, and this may be an unpopular opinion. I think even 25 is it's overrating Yama Yuta a bit. Hey, but it's just me.
But yeah. I do want to mention one more thing. There was a competition in Japan.
Yeah.
Going back to Japan.
Yes.
That finished today.
That's the Young Carps.
Yeah, the Young Carp. Now, this is the 18th edition of the Young Carp.
Yep.
If you can read Japanese, it says the criteria for participating in there.
I'll try to turn it into translate to English.
I believe you just have to be under 30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, and you have to be 7 Dan or lower.
Yes. It says here eligibility. Yep.
Yeah. So Seki Kotaro, for instance, is not in this.
Okay.
But interestingly enough, the 3 previous editions, the 15th edition, 16th, and 17th editions, were all won by women players.
Yes, even though it's a mixed competition.
Yes. Fujisawa Arena won it 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then Yuno Asami won the 2 prior to that.
Yes. 16,
now, this is an act that's... Yes. Now, actually, Ji Yimin won the very first edition, but back then it was an exhibition tournament.
Right.
So it didn't really count as like a woman winning a mixed. It's strange. It's strange because it was an exhibition tournament. It doesn't count officially as an official tournament, as an official title for her. So it doesn't count as a co-ed win by a woman.
Right. Yeah.
But then eventually, yeah. So the 6th edition of the Young Carp was the first time it was an official tournament. So technically, 3 years ago, Fujisawa Arena became the first Japanese woman to win a mixed gender tournament. Not a completely open tournament because, there's still that restriction.
Yeah.
But a mixed gender, a very, very significant achievement. And then Yuno Asami did even better, winning it. And both of those players were in this year's tournament. Yuno Asami going for a three-peat. Unfortunately, she lost in the round of 16 to Koike Yoshihiro, very strong 7-dan player, who I believe was in the Japanese team.
In the Korean League.
In the Korean League.
Yep.
Yes. And Koike Yoshihiro, he actually went all the way to the final. And both of those players are 7-dan. So 2 of the strongest players in the tournament. And yeah, rightfully, they both make the final. Makes sense.
Yep.
And in the end, it was Hirose Yuichi who was victorious in the 1-game final.
Yes.
So congratulations to him. I don't know if he has won a title before. I don't think he has.
It doesn't say on his
I'll try and
page.
check. I don't.
No, Gaza, it says here that in 2018 he's won the 43rd Rookie King.
Oh, he won the Rookie King.
Yes, it says yes.
Yeah, he won the Rookie King
Yes.
5 years ago.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
which is not bad.
there you go. He's done well. Done well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he was an unexpected winner. Thoroughly deserving.
Yep.
And he's still only 22, so he can compete many more years until he gets promoted to 8-dan.
So yeah.
I'm not sure if it's not so easy to get promoted to 8-dan in Japan, so he may still have some time. But yeah, it's his first Young Cup title.
Yep. Awesome. So I guess that's all that we're gonna cover for the Japanese thing. Before we Gaza, so shall we have a quick look at the calendar for next week?
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah. Oh, Gaza.
Yep.
I don't know if these are still correct or current. I guess given COVID is no longer ravaging the planet, this is probably correct. It looks like to me that there will be the Samsung Cup happening next week, and if I'm not wrong, the women's Guosho in China, and then we're gonna have the Wu Qingyuan Cup semi-final. That's gonna be huge, and also the start of the Nongshim Cup, another huge one. With the 6th Boss Soft New Talent Competition, there's it won't be the
start of the Nongshim Cup.
Nongshim Cup, and then another Chinese domestic, the Wei Yuan Fankai Cup. That's another domestic. So yeah, can't wait for the Nongshim Cup. I guess in the chat, even Hanamaru is very excited about the Nongshim Cup, and so is everybody. Of course, we.
I have to. When does the Nongshim Cup restart?
30th, so Thursday.
Okay. Well, I'll have to get my special socks.
Yeah, and yes, you gotta show us a picture of that next time. Yep. So I guess that's it. So a lot to look forward to. Can't wait for the Samsung Cup final. Can't wait for Nongshim Cup. It's gonna be a great close to the year. Yeah. And I'm hoping for more candidates for the bad moves of the year, but you can only hope for so much. So I guess with that, Gaza, it's time to say goodbye.
Yep. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Bye.